Stand. Yeah.
What, please?
Oh, I can do them all.
Good evening. This is July 18th, 2018 Town of Ossining Planning Board. Can you just go around the board, go around the Mark?
Mark Hopefully, Planning Board Member, Town of Ossining.
Greg McWilliams, Vice Chairman.
Xinghua Chen, Chair.
Garrett Puffum, Member.
Jim Bacinas, Board Member.
Nancy Arcia, Consulting Engineer to the Planning Board.
David Stolman, Planning Consultant to the town.
Kathy Zalantis, Planning Board Attorney.
I believe we have some issues that we need some legal advice on at this point. Could I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Thank you. We'll go into executive session for now. Okay, could I have a motion to go back into public session?
I'll make a motion.
Seconded.
No objections?
Nope.
Great. Okay, we're back in public session. And the first item on our agenda is Rayford Darren and Sons, 52-1, 52-3, Old Albany Pulse Road, architectural review, public hearing. Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. Did you have some statements to make?
I think everybody's got a copy of this. I wanted just to go through it briefly and explain why and what it is that I submitted to you guys. Maybe you guys get a little better understanding of the site. And I also have some posters with the site plan with the topography on it, because one of the members wanted to see the topography there. I also have a picture of the foundation and the proposed house, and then the floor plan. Sandy tried to put it up there, but I guess it really didn't do any justice. But if I can go through this with you, just to explain, what this is and why.
No, I think it was pretty clear from the labels you put on each copy, so.
Yeah.
I think we all have copies of them, we saw them?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just
Any
showed
questions about it?
It showed the parking, there's some cars in front of there, and I had a conversation with the owner of the house where they're parking from. I guess there's a business across the street, and these are the employees. He says, you guys can stay there as long as you want, as long as I'm not, doing anything. I have no objection to you. The front view speaks for itself. This is the house in the middle. I've gotten to know this neighbor pretty well. She's a very nice lady, and I showed her the plans, and I thought she was going to show up tonight. She really liked the house, and she's expressed interest in buying one of them, but I wanted her to see and know what was going on both sides of her house.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah. This picture here is the one across the street, and this is where this stucco company is, and those are the people that are parking in the spaces in front of the property. And like I said, I had no objection to it, but there was some comments as far as parking on the property, and I provided the one-car garage and then the driveway, so that's enough for 2 cars there. This picture here was just showing the other 2 houses next to me, which are raised ranches. And that's what I'm proposing, so it kind of is in sync with the neighborhood. The second one is the adjacent house, which is next to that one with the wooden siding that shows a raised ranch, and it's got, the vinyl siding as well. This was a shot I took from the back of the property, looking at the neighbor's backyard, just to help show the topography there, because where I was standing, shooting the picture that way, it shows kind of where I'm coming from, where it's, that's about.
Is part of the backyard of the 2 houses going to be flat like that also?
Yeah, they both are.
Okay.
They both
Right.
are. And I was hoping that these pictures showed that a little bit better, Actually, this is a shot from the very rear of the property, which shows sort of like, that's the building envelope that's actually there. So you can get a view of what it is from the very back of the property looking forward.
The next one, the side view showing the topography.
Yeah, this
Is that on your property?
This is, me standing right in the middle of my property,
Is
looking
that,
towards
it
that.
sure looks like bamboo to me.
That is bamboo there. That's all bamboo. There's a lot of bamboo.
Okay.
And that stuff is problematic, and it's going to
It's
be
very
a bear to get
intense,
it out of there.
yes.
I've had some people tell me about bamboo on their property, that, you know, unless you really get in there with an excavator, it's not coming out, it's not coming out. It's crazy, it really is, but if you could see that shot, sort of looking into, that's sort of right where the building envelope is, looking into that house. I just wanted to show you that it wasn't this huge steep slope that I'm gonna be disturbing.
Your intention is to get rid of all the bamboo.
I'm gonna do the best I can, that's tough to
I
get rid
know,
of.
yes,
Right?
yes.
This is a shot even further away, which shows that old deep hole test. That's approximately where it was, where they went down 8 feet there. And these ranches, you only go down 48 inches, because they're half, the basement, or first floor is sort of half in and half out of the ground. So I just wanted to kind of show where that deep hole test is, knowing that I'm only going to go down 4 feet there, and they went down 8 feet and didn't hit the rock. This is a picture of a house I'm building right now in Peekskill. The picture really doesn't do it any justice. It really is a pretty house from the street view. And this site was like real difficult. It was actually a hole, and it was a junkyard. I'm gonna put a really nice house there, and the city's really, really pleased with it. But like I said, this picture didn't do very much justice for it, but I just, you know, hope that you'd get a little better idea after looking at these on the project and what we're gonna do.
Okay, I understand some of the board members still have concerns about some of the elements of the application.
I have a few, although some of them I see have been addressed. One of them, I was,
Do we have an extra copy for the applicant?
I have a copy of that. You're looking at that site plan?
No, no.
Oh,
I have
comments?
a list of things.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple things.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
It's correspondence that shouldn't be handed out.
That's
You just
why,
read it out.
yeah. So
Okay.
I tore off the, this is, okay. So, I thought that the visible height of the retaining walls had not been shown, but they were. It was just that I didn't know the code for them. So
Okay.
that's good. Now that I do, I'm a little concerned that there's a lot of wall that's going to be shown. Are these cast in concrete or block?
They're block. I'm going to have another, I'm not very familiar with this particular engineer, and I'm very familiar and comfortable with a gentleman I use. His name is Matthew Noviello, and I want him to get on this project and take over. So when
This
I,
shows 6 feet in the back there, and I think, if I did my math right, 8 feet on the side here. That's a lot of wall.
yeah, and truth of the
That's
matter
exposed,
is,
yeah.
truth of the matter is, you know, when I look out from the property and I see, you know, the terrain makeup, I want Matthew to put his input on that, and I guess this will be through the building department's process, that are those walls needed? With the, you know, if that's ledge rock there, are those walls needed? Because unless they're natural stone, they're ugly. I mean, I want to do as least of them as I have to, but from an engineering standpoint, if they have to be there to retain that ground, they'll have to be there. But as I said, that's why I want to get my engineer on it when it comes down to the phase of, you know, actually going for building permit to modify and put his name and stamp on these plans. because
Yeah, anything
he's
you
much
can
better.
do to minimize that would be
Yeah,
great.
me
And
too.
both for
I don't
you-
like it.
For your sake
Yeah.
and everyone's sake.
Because when I stand there, I can see it. I can see the terrain, and it looks as though, you know, there's like granite coming down, so maybe it's not needed. I don't know. That's not for me. I'm not an engineer. I'll put him on it, and I know he'll do a really fantastic job.
So, a couple of other things I'd like, perhaps your new engineer could modify the drawings accordingly. Thank you for providing the topo,
Mhm.
by the way. That really very helpful in visualizing it. I would like to see shading on the topo in areas on the property that exceed the steep slope requirements, or the
Okay.
steep slope standards of the town.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what that gradient is, but it's in the code somewhere.
You mean in the area of the building envelope that's going to be disturbed, or
No, anywhere on the property
that's considered a steep slope?
that's considered a steep slope, it would be, I'd like to just see it highlighted. That's something we routinely ask in many programs, many applications.
Let me just get a pen and paper, I can jot.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Regarding the walls, perhaps again, after you consult with, a new engineer who will have a mindset toward minimizing these walls, perhaps you could draw in, or have him draw in on one of these photographs, what the wall would look like from this perspective. I just sort of drew it in for my own sake here. And, if you could do something like that, can you see that?
Yeah,
I think that would be very helpful to all parties to get a sense of what that'll look like. Let's see. A minor thing, it's probably a typo on these plans. It says the plan indicates that parts of it, anyway, were done in 2012.
yeah.
So what parts of that were?
I don't know, I
don't
bought,
get that.
I bought the properties as a completed subdivision. So
Okay.
I'm not sure on what you're referring to.
So the subdivision
That was part of
was
the
done in 2012.
2012, yes.
Were these building footprints?
That all was done in 2012.
That was all done then? Oh,
I guess
see.
at the time, like I said, I wasn't there, I wasn't
Got
a
it.
part of that. but
Okay. Now
When
I
they did the
understand.
subdivision, I guess they
Okay.
had to submit this to the board to get the subdivision approved.
Okay, so they just put in some sort of standard footprints
I guess
to
so.
get the board approval. Okay. You've already, could you confirm that you've already agreed that where you do the curb cuts, that you will bring?
Natural wall, yes,
Natural
absolutely.
wall,
I've been more than happy
nice
to do that.
stone wall,
Yeah, I'm gonna use the natural stone that's there.
natural stone that's
Yeah.
there, okay.
Yeah.
And drywall. Did you say drywall? Did you agree to drywall as opposed to masonry?
Drywall is,
Stone.
Drywall, what do you mean
is-
drywall? Drywall.
So the existing walls there are without concrete.
Oh, yes,
Without
yeah, no,
cement.
that's the walls I like too. I don't like the joints with the concrete.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
whole different aesthetic.
Yep,
So you agree to do
You'll-
drywall?
yes, with what I have to build there, I'll be more than happy to do drywall. That's the way I like it too. I don't like seeing those masonry
Like
joints.
No mortar?
No mortar?
No
Yeah.
more. The existing walls that are in the front though, I don't want to touch those, unless I have to
Right.
modify
right.
them for the
Yeah,
driveway.
absolutely.
drywall
Yes,
is probably the
100%.
wrong terminology. That's something used to the interior of a project.
Right, that's where you
Oh,
throw me a
okay.
curveball.
So natural stone walls with
With no visible,
mortar.
no visible joints, I guess, that's the dry joints, yes. No problem there. That's
No
the way I like to
visible
do
mortar.
it myself.
Okay, that's good. And one last thing, if you could confirm that previously you agreed to put a bathroom in the basement level?
You know something, I don't have the room. Take a look at this plan. You know, things look bigger on a plan than they actually do, but that house is small. And this is what it's gonna look like with that garage underneath. This is your basement plan here. So think about this, your doors here. You got stairs that are gonna go up and stairs that are gonna go down. So you have to create a platform within here just for the stairs to go down. This is the only family room you have. There's no room for a bath.
Can you squeeze in a half bath?
It's just so small there. I mean, if you look at the dimensions, right? So you're only 25 wide.
What's your reasoning for asking that?
Just
The only
substantialness of the,
You're only 20 by 25. Really small family room area. I'd love to do it in case, somebody ever wanted to put a parent down there. There's just no room. There's no room.
okay,
I
I'll
appreciate it.
take your word on that.
Yeah, it's a small house. That's the problem.
Oh, actually, one last thing is, previously I'd asked for a cross-section, that once you have the topo information, which you now have, that you show a cross-sectional view through each of the two properties, which would be a drawing that essentially shows, you know, the back hillside, flat area, the house, and then the road. Could you have your engineer provide two such cross-sections?
I certainly will ask him. I don't know how difficult that is to do.
It's easy to do. I almost did it myself when I received this. I
Mhm.
could do that in half an hour.
Okay.
So he could do it, believe me.
So, we're gonna get a cross-section.
Through each of the two properties, front to back.
Front to back.
Down from the top of the property in altitude to the road level.
If it's on computer, it should be fairly simple.
Yeah, I mean, he's a CAD,
Yeah.
he uses CAD.
Okay, it's 5 minutes for
He can
an
do it?
engineer, believe me.
Then, no problem, I'll be
Okay.
more than happy to.
And the building should be shown in that cross-section as
Okay.
well, both buildings.
Okay. I only have a, like I said, I only have a picture of the proposed building. If he can
He
implement
could
that
just,
in?
You know, he'd block it
Fine.
in, yeah, just the
Okay.
general massing and
Okay.
height is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
So, is there a consensus that these things should be shown?
Well, I think,
Do you
did
agree
you have-
that
yeah,
that's
we,
all
have-
right?
I think we
Yeah.
agree with so far. Was there an issue with windows that you wanted to bring up or not?
Now, I'm gonna do that window that you said. The only thing is, it's a modular house, and they've partially built it already, so the modular company guaranteed me they would do it on site. But I will put those windows in those bedrooms
Okay.
and the living rooms.
Couple windows on each side, right?
Couple windows in each side.
Should that be reflected on the
Yep.
plan, or?
Yeah, I mean, I
It'll be shown.
I showed it on the plan here. But I was told by the modular company, these windows here, these are already in, these will have to be done on site.
Okay,
And I'll be more than happy to do that.
thank you.
John, is that on the side elevations? Is that where you're showing them?
Yeah.
Yeah, these here, front of the
Okay.
house.
All right,
These are
so,
already in, these will be put on site.
so we
Do we
need
have a copy
something,
of that?
something that needs to say that this supersedes these side elevations.
Okay, you want, I can have something written from the modular company?
Sure,
Be fine?
sure.
Okay.
Dan, you had comments that you had sent to the applicant on this?
Well,
You
comments
had-
I distributed this evening.
Oh, so they hadn't had a chance to look at it yet?
He did have an opportunity to look at them.
Okay.
I mean, I would frame this in the context, up until now, we had not seen the plan with the topographic map. So, you know, whether it falls within the framework of the ARB review or coming across my desk, so if I see something,
Right.
I'm
You
calling
could
it
address it
out.
as it is, right? okay.
Right, so, I mean, some of these things may be dealt with at the building department level, but as I said, I did look at the plan, and as the applicant indicated, there'll be a new site plan issued by his new engineer to better reflect what the comments from the planning board as well as my comments.
Okay.
And I guess, are those footprints shown on there, the actual?
Those are the footprints. That's-
So you're still on the
I'm gonna
same
stay on that
footprint?
footprint, but I'm
So-
sure
so
he's.
it's just that those had a full basement and now you're
Right.
going to a raised ranch configuration.
Correct.
At this point, does the applicant have any comments on Dan's,
No, I looked at them, and, you know, the engineer will answer any engineering questions. I think that'll be taken care of at the building department level before they approve the site plan.
very good, okay.
He'll address all of those.
Okay, has the planning board had a chance to look at the
Dan, do you want to
engineering?
see those now?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to see what you're asking for now?
Not necessarily, I mean,
I have the full set, Dan, if you want to take a look at it. It's a 4-page site plan. Probably have some of the answers on the, you know, the technical
Well,
questions.
I'm going off of the one sheet that I was looking at.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I go through them then? Maybe it's worthwhile. Because, you know, first off, as you said, you're gonna change them.
Right.
We're not even doing this plan anymore because it's a raised ramp, so the grading's gonna be different.
Right.
So it's really kind of a different plan. So let me go through them. So, I mean, the one thing that, the first comment, provide evidence that 52 Albany Post has provided permission for the grading and retaining wall extension. The grading works like that, but we shouldn't be green lighting something that shows a trespass on somebody's property without their consent. Kind of more in sort of the ARB stuff, the plans are showing a modular retaining wall system. They come in a variety of colors, shapes, textures. So that, as Gareth is pointing out, is a feature that's going to be very visible on a project. So that's something I think at the ARB level, maybe the applicant should provide the manufacturer, color samples, things of that nature of what the wall is going to look like. So there's stormwater proposed, so providing some information on the design of that. Show the footing drains, which, you know, that kind of, I think, falls in the realm of the building department issue. Invert to the dry well connections, again, that could be at the building department level. The next one's about inverts as well. And then basically coordination between the details and what's shown on the plans, and that the plan shows different sewer materials, the detail shows something different, and likewise the water service looks pretty big in the
Yeah, inch and a half.
an inch and a half.
Yeah, you
water
don't need an
service.
inch and a half
Right.
water lines. Feed
So
those houses.
the detail shows it as 1 inch. So again,
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff.
yeah, that's why I'm gonna have Noviello do my
Yeah,
site
it is
plan for
just-
these
Yeah, the
houses.
site's gotta just be clean.
But I think that goes upon the building department, right? That's all.
Well,
that's not the
you know,
building-
as I say, some of these things, I'm calling it all out, some of them may fall within the realm of your ARB review, but other things that are comments that just perhaps need to be addressed at the building permit process.
Okay. Does the board have any more comments on this matter? Are we on agreement on? Oh,
Yeah,
right.
no, I have one comment. It's really not about that. It's just, can you put a dimension, or I think you should have a minimum dimension of the width of these driveways because you have walls on either side?
Yeah, sure.
I know I've seen houses, I mean, you have a car parked there, and it's impossible for somebody to get out. They're really tight. There's a really good example, driving into Ossining on Highland Avenue. As you're going south, right across from Avalon Apartments, you'll see a Colonial there, and they have a driveway like this. It's a tunnel between stone walls. And when people drive in there,
You can't get out.
you can't get out.
No,
So
I'm sure they'll be
I
wide
think,
enough,
and you have no problem doing 12 feet. You
No,
know,
I see
you
it.
you have a little bit of leeway in terms of your steps, and I'm not sure exactly what this is.
It's probably on one of the plans,
Yeah.
but I'm sure they're.
But it should
You
be
know,
like
why-
12 feet minimum. It really should be.
If this house is 35 feet long, that looks
It's
about
probably,
12 feet.
it's close to it,
I'm
yeah.
sure it'll be on the site plan for the building.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
So any further comments?
It should be shown on this plan for the ARB.
Okay.
Any further comments? No. Okay, are we all in agreement that these are requirements for us to consider it further? Yes. Yes, okay, great.
Okay, so I'll have the new site plan when I come to the next meeting, and we'll have all the things that were addressed at the board.
Okay, do we need a date certain for this?
This is a public hearing, so yes, we do. We're adjourning the public hearing to a date certain, and since this is a public hearing, you should ask if anybody has any comments. Also, it would be good to get the plans in advance of the public hearing.
I will.
The next meeting, so Sandy can tell you when the
Okay.
deadline is.
Is there any public comments on this matter? No. Thank
Are we
you.
gonna try to for a work session in August? It was like an August 1st.
You think you can have this out by August 1st?
Yeah, I definitely will.
There's two meetings,
Are there 2 meetings in August?
yes. August 1st and
August 1st and August 15th, but your submission would be due July 23rd, next Monday.
I gotta push, Sandy, I'll do my best.
Okay. Just tell us if it's right
Okay.
more time.
Yep.
Okay, great, so we'll adjourn it to August 1st.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is, on-call PH 593 North State Road. Site plan. Applicant have any comments at this time?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. David, do you want to go through resolution?
I'd be happy to, and then we have the letter from the EAC as well.
Okay.
So, why don't I paraphrase through the first section of the resolution. The title is 593 North State Road LLC, Resolution of Site Plan Approval. In the first whereas, we identify the applicant and owner, and the fact that this is an application for site plan approval for a change of use, the construction of a parking area, the installation of a fence, and other associated site improvements. And then we have the address of the property, the tax map designation of the property. In the next whereas, we have the size and the zoning of the property. In the next whereas, the fact that this is that on the subject property is an existing single-family home, and the applicant proposes to use the existing building on the site for retail and office purposes. Then we list the application materials. The following whereas mentions that a survey was also submitted. And then we have 1, 2, 3 whereas clauses which talk about the fact that the planning board has reviewed this application in accordance with the applicable parts of the zoning law, which takes us to the third whereas on the second page. The fact that the planning board has received comments and recommendations from the board's engineering consultant, the town's planning consultant, and the public, and has given due consideration to said comments. Next, that we sent this to the Westchester County Planning Board, and the planning board came back with a letter dated June 15, 2018, which has comments in it. The fact that a public hearing was held tonight, at which time, oh, I'm sorry, not tonight, June 20th, 2018, and was closed on that evening. Next, that the proposed action is an unlisted action in accordance with seeker. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby makes the following findings in accordance with section 250.A of the zoning law, which is the section on site plan review. 1, the planning board has taken into consideration the public health, safety, and welfare, and the comfort and convenience of the public in general, and of the occupants of the project, and of the residents of the immediate neighborhood in particular. And the planning board finds that the proposed traffic access is adequate in width, grade, alignment, and visibility, and is not located too near street corners. This is the language right out of the zoning law, or other places of public assembly. And the planning board finds that adequate off-street parking spaces are provided to prevent parking in public streets of vehicles of any persons connected with or visiting use, and that the interior circulation system is adequate to provide safe accessibility to all required off-street parking spaces. And 4, the planning board finds that all parking and service areas are reasonably screened at all seasons of the year from the view of adjacent residential lots and streets, and that the general landscaping of the site is in character with that generally prevailing in the neighborhood. And be it further resolved, the planning board hereby adopts and incorporates the recitations and statements set forth above as if fully resolved and set forth herein. The second paragraph is the fact that the planning board is hereby issuing a negative declaration. The reasoning is that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, since the traffic generated by the project will not adversely impact streets and intersections in the area, and since all construction and land disturbance associated with the project will be mitigated by being performed in accordance with best management practices, including but not limited to proper drainage and erosion and sedimentation control. The third paragraph, the planning board hereby disagrees with the comment in the Westchester County Planning Board's letter dated June 15, 2018, that the town planning board should require a sidewalk along the site's frontage on North State Road, because the town planning board believes that the existing sidewalk on the opposite side of the road is sufficiently adequate for pedestrians traversing this area, and that a sidewalk on one side of the road is in keeping with the community character of this part of the town, in accordance with section 239M of the GML, the New York State General Municipal Law. This reasoning shall be conveyed in writing to the Westchester County Planning Board within 30 days of the adoption of this resolution. For the planning board hereby grants site plan approval to the project as expressed on the above specified drawings, subject to the following conditions and modifications and any other requirements which must be met by law. Prior to the endorsement of the site plan by the planning board chairman, prior to the issuance of a building permit for the project, and prior to any land disturbance taking place on the site, the following conditions shall be fulfilled to the satisfaction of the planning board. 1, all engineering aspects of the site plan shall be such that they meet the satisfaction of the planning board's engineering consultant. This shall include, in addition to the plan, showing a perforated pipe or the functional equivalent along the proposed planting areas which convey stormwater to said areas prior to the water entering the stormwater collection system for irrigation purposes. 2, the landscape plan should be modified to the satisfaction of the town planner as follows. A, all fertilizer notes shall be deleted from the plan. B, the red maple trees shall be replaced with basswood trees of the same number and size. C, the northern white cedar tree shall be replaced with a combination of American holly and green giant arborvitae trees of the same number and size. And then when those conditions above have been fulfilled, the planning board chairman will endorse 4 sets of the plans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is our standard language regarding the signing of the plans and the dissemination of the plans to various entities. B, the following condition shall be fulfilled prior to the issuance of a CO, or certificate of occupancy for the project. The building inspector shall inform the planning board of the applicant's request for a CO, and the board reserves the right to make a field inspection of the site prior to the issuance of said CO, and should require any reasonable modifications to the landscaping, lighting, or other site details, provided the modifications are materially consistent with the approved site plan, which modifications shall be a condition of said CO. And then C, the following are general conditions which shall be fulfilled as the project progresses to completion. 1, that a duly authorized representative of the town shall have the right to inspect the subject property in order to monitor compliance with the conditions of this approval. 2 is our standard requirement that all application review fees be paid within 30 days, et cetera, et cetera. 3, any future modifications of the subject property above and beyond that approved herein, and with the exception of field changes approved by the building inspector, shall be subject to further planning board review and approval. 4 is right out of the zoning law. These are the site plan, expiration conditions, and then at the end it says the planning board may extend site plan approval if in its opinion such extension is warranted by the particular circumstances involved. 5, all construction on this project shall be in accordance with best management practices. And 6, this project shall comply with the then current Americans with Disabilities Act and New York and State Energy Code as applicable. And that's the whole resolution.
And how does the Environmental Advisory Committee's letter to us
If you jump to their last page, not the page with the not the pages of exhibits, but the EAC summarizes its comments, and where it says, in summary, the EAC recommends that this project eliminate the use of long chemicals. And turning back a page, they say at the top of the page, with respect to the seasonal maintenance schedule submitted by the applicant, we recommend the exclusion of a fertilization protocol on this document and for the site. So we've done that in our resolution. Second, the EAC recommends that the applicant correct the current documents to accurately identify the 2 existing water courses on the property, each as a tributary to the Botanico River, which we can include in our resolution, if you'd like. Number 3, minimize any negative impacts to the wetlands, its buffers, steep slopes, and regulated trees. And with respect to that, going back a page, the EAC says, the EAC would like to advise the planning board that this proposed project to enlarge the current parking lot significantly negatively impacts the wetlands and buffers. See above comments regarding the presence of 2 tributaries to the Botanico River. The steep slopes located at the northeastern perimeter and mature regulated trees on this eastern perimeter, that is, with respect to their size and location in a wetland buffer of this site. As mentioned above and in previous correspondence to the planning board, this section of North State Road has experienced repeated significant flooding over the last 30 years. This committee therefore recommends that there be minimal to no negative impact to the flooding challenges that already plague this area. The natural resources on the site should be protected. And it's my belief that the planning board has weighed this matter in relation to what's needed on this site to develop it properly for this use, and has balanced these matters. So I think that that's already incorporated.
David, I've been working with the EAC as the liaisons along with Gareth also. And after you're done reading Donna's, Mitzi's item right here, I also like to discuss a few things that I observed also after looking at some of their photos and everything like that, and some of their information. I went back to the applicant's drawings and I looked at them, and I have a few additional concerns that I want to address with with the members of our board.
Good.
And just discuss
Yep.
openly, because
Sure.
I have a few additional concerns. that
Sure.
I think
Go
I
ahead.
want them to.
Well, actually,
No,
David, you want to
finish.
finish off?
Finish
Sure,
the- finish,
sure. And number
Mitzi's.
4 is, the EAC recommends the requirement of permeable pavement for the parking area surface.
Which has already been included inside.
I don't think so. I don't think permeable
We
pavement
use
is
the-
not
No,
spec.
we talked about it, but we were of the opinion, voiced the applicant, that given that the parking lot is placed on fill, any permeable surface really wouldn't function properly, because you'd have to compact that fill. There wouldn't be any transmission of water through it.
Anyway,
Yeah, so it would be putting something in that wouldn't actually work, and probably would be worse off.
could create a problem, I would imagine, with respect to freezing and heaving and.
Yeah, I would say.
Right, Mark, you had a comment?
Okay.
But the applicant had a chance to look at the
Yes, I
EAC's?
did.
Okay, good.
Thank you. The drawing which you've, is drawing, oh gosh.
Which sheet number?
This one,
That's the first one.
yes. The original issue, which was like the first submission, I printed out a copy of that one, and then the latest one that you have. I noticed the north arrow is actually facing west and not north. If you go to a Google map of this property, the north arrow on this is in the wrong direction. The north arrow you're pointing is right here, it's actually that direction.
This is this is the Google map, so this north arrow, which actually, it's missing on whichever one you printed out.
This is the direction it
Right,
is.
so if you look on here, this is the north arrow for this plan, which matches what you have on your, what you have drawn on there. I'm not sure,
Okay,
you think you have an older plan?
I'm just saying, I'm going from the original one here, north arrow here, fine.
Okay.
Secondly, on that same drawing, the newer issue one, you are calling, and the EAC also mentioned it also, you're calling something a drainage ditch on their drawing, on your drawing.
The southern.
And in all reality, when you analyze the photos that were taken, and you look at at
He's
all
already
the
changing
maps,
that.
I know, I'm just saying,
He's gonna change
it's
that.
really a dry stream bed. I'm just talking, things that I've noticed. I never realized that there's a 24-inch CMP is what you're calling it. I saw it on the drawing, I didn't understand it until I saw the pictures, and I realized that this is something that was probably installed, something that was probably installed even before this house was even built. Okay. It could have been something that was done 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Whether or not in this day and age, that 24-inch pipe, CMP, or whatever it is, which is really a stream that connects to the Botanical River. It's really a stream that's been covered up for a long time. Now the applicant, someone's selling the property, an applicant's buying it, and they want to put a parking lot on top of this element. I personally think that if you look at certain elements that people brought out, and I looked at some of the stuff as liaisons with the EAC, I also saw some correspondence that went back and forth with the town, and some elements that dealt with daylighting of rivers, daylighting of streams and stuff like that. And I'm just asking the board to think about it, that on the part of the property where the driveway is not being placed, that we open that up. This dry riverbed and this is a stream, which he's now gonna fill up on top with more dirt and bring it up, is something that in this day and age, if they was building this from scratch, would most likely not be permitted to actually put a parking lot in, because that would have been a stream that was never covered up. Here's something that was covered up 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever it is, and if in this day and age, it wouldn't meet code. I'm asking,
I'm not so sure that's true.
I'm looking at it, it's a stream that runs to the Botanical River.
I'm also not so sure that the board wouldn't allow the culverting of the stream.
Maybe under a road like North State Road, where it is right now. I'm just looking at the property, I'm just continuing on, let me continue.
Let me interject one thing, if I may. John Ladd, on behalf of the EAC, did some GIS mapping and superimposed the hydric soil mapping, state of New York, I believe. And this whole North State Road area is shown as hydric soil. Of course, it has been covered up in these previously built properties, but it is still technically hydric soil there. So I would think that Mark is right on that one.
Which one?
On the one point that he makes, that if this were a new construction, this would be, a stream of hydric soil.
But it's not new construction, number one.
I'm
Number
agreeing,
two-
I'm just, for the
Number two, I
record,
think
I'm
it's-
agreeing with that one point.
I think it's speculation.
Oh, it's not, because,
I was talking.
Because it's
Yeah,
not
let's
like-
let Mark finish.
Yes.
okay, go ahead. I just wanted to
Again,
interject that one point.
but Garrett and I are both liaisons with the EAC, and we talk with them daily. We go to their meetings, we listen to them, they ask questions. We're one happy family in this town. So I look at an aerial view of it, and I see a water course, a dry bed, and I see the water course that's going under the driveway, that's gonna go under the driveway. Again, 30, 40, 50 years ago, when there was a storm, and I personally live on Morningside Drive. I have walked by this property on Morningside Drive probably around 1,000 times. So I know what vegetation is there, I see it, I see for the past 20 years what happens on North State Road, what happens on Morningside Drive, where the water comes. I have some concerns. I also took the National Hydroponic database drawing that the EAC produced, and I looked at it and I was like, there's a few things in this property that are real nearby. Ryder Park is right there. Highview Farms is right there. Bethany Convent, which is now an art center, is right there. We have a lot of other streams. We also have the aqueduct going over there. We have Campfire Lake. We have the Botanical River. We have all these different roads and elements right there. And all the water that is coming from Highview Farms, Ryder Road, Ryder Park, Morningside, all those elements right there are all coming down the hill from the parks, across Morningside Drive, into the back of this property, going all the way across North State Road, and then going into the water path. I have such major concern that by putting this parking lot in and not doing anything with this stream that's underneath the parking lot is gonna cause irreparable damage. I really think we need to look at this very carefully. Look at my little diagram right here. I see other streams and I see water there. Now, if you also look at the plants that are on the property that were done by the photos that they took, the EAC took, what I noticed there is I noticed on the photos the type of vegetation that only occurs when there is major water in that area. Major, when you look at these pictures very carefully, you see it right then and there. You see the types of vegetation. The last drawing that the EAC took was showing the 24-inch pipe and the water that's pouring out of it. And they actually did a little video, which it didn't show up on the video. And there's a lot of water coming out of that 24-inch pipe. Okay, a tremendous amount of water, and we really need to look at it in a certain manner. To close this up, I just, you know, we have a meeting, we look at something, but it sometimes takes a little bit of time to do a little bit more research. After looking at what the EAC did, I think they did a tremendous job of investigation on this property. And when I take some of their findings and I superimpose it on this map, and you look at it from Google Earth, look at the property in detail, not just this property, but where all the water is coming from, it's gravity is going right down the hill. That's why I took a picture of the property. This is from Google Earth. I took a picture of the property. You can see how steep the property is. That water's coming from right behind, right down there. I just have a lot of reservations about, we're gonna, again, as a planning board member, like, what do we want to do? We want to make sure that we're for development, for all the different things. I see a lot of things here that are giving me a little bit of concern. There have been studies done, and even the EAC has approached the town supervisor on that about daylighting of a stream and the benefits of that. And it's actually amazing what Mitzi sent to the board about 3 articles. One, ground due work from USA, Sawmill River daylighting analysis report, and the third one, the EPA brownfield uncovering long buried prizes. And this I'm talking about in Yonkers. Okay, these are 3 reports that were given to the EAC and talking about these elements. And the benefits that something like this happened, and it only has for a little part of it, the benefits outweigh anything with the rest of it being uncovered. And the benefits are, just trying to think where the word is, I had it somewhere there with me.
Well, you have to be careful when you say benefits, of course, Mark, because the question of benefits to whom and cost to whom.
Right.
But continue, Mark. I think Gareth has a comment as well.
I think you need to look at the plans dealing with the type of pavement that you're putting on. I'm real concerned about we have a pipe right there that is really a stream. It flows right, when I look at the overall map and I see where it goes right there, right in front, and it goes all the way into the Botanical River. It goes into the Botanical River.
Okay.
I have major concerns on that end.
Gareth, you have a comment?
Yeah, just sort of following up on some of Mark's thoughts about the benefits of daylighting. Looking at this plan, it occurs to me that you could daylight this stream, keeping the rest of your plan entirely intact by just leaving the beginning and end points of the culvert as they are, so that there would be no major, connection, infrastructure issues. But just direct the stream, will then be a daylighted stream, down the side of the, parallel to the property line, and then sort of curve around the northeast corner of your proposed parking lot to meet up. If I could show you a drawing, it has,
I have a blue magic mark if you want one. I have extra copies of that.
I think I understand.
yeah. So leave all of that intact, but just bring it around like that.
So my only concern with that would be that in this section here, we'd be disturbing some very steep slopes.
Mhm.
Put that in, and I'm not sure how, just the initial stabilization process, it might just wash away and wash away and wash away if it's consistently flowing. It would be difficult to stabilize. Then the other issue would be, we would be losing all of this planting area, which we need to meet that landscape requirement.
That's true.
Now,
You
as
would
far
be-
as-
Well,
and
I also might
the
be showing
screening.
this,
And the screening as well, yes.
yeah, I might be showing this off
Putting it
scale,
adjacent to another
larger
person's
than it would actually be.
Well, 5 foot wide would be.
Maybe that's about right. 5 or 10 feet
Too
wide.
far off.
Yeah, so there would be a screening issue. I agree with you there. Alternatively, could you open these two sections?
This section, again, I would have
The
the same
steep slope
reservations. for the
problem
steep
back
slope.
there.
But down here, I could talk to the applicant and see if they're open to that. That's less of a, I would say it's less of a hazard.
That would certainly be
Again, it was once a
in the right
stream.
direction.
It was a
Yeah.
stream that some planning board or zoning board or some board took
So
from
he's
year to
pointing out,
year.
just so the
Yes.
board, the screening along here would be lost,
Right.
and that's a valid point. This is steep slope, might be difficult to open, but he's going to
This
ask.
was once a river. This was once a stream.
Yeah, that's
This
true.
is a stream. It showed the same course.
Agreed, but.
It was a stream before it was covered up with a 24-inch pipe.
Yes,
Right.
but
The
it
only
formed
issue
its
here,
stream bed
however,
over
is
years and years and
do
years.
we have a mandate or authority from the town board for us, or in the code, for instance, that wants us to go and open up these streams?
There's no mandate.
Any
There's no
authors-
mandate, but it's something that the state of New York is encouraging, the state of New York DEC is encouraging widely.
Sure, if it was part of and if it was part of a complete plan, it would be probably a good idea, but if we just open up a portion of it without having any follow-through with the other sections, what would be the purpose, other than making the burden on this one applicant?
Except that it wouldn't be much of a burden.
If it's limited to this one
If
section.
it's limited to
right,
this
okay.
one section,
Right.
certainly.
So the applicant's
and-
gonna consider that?
And while the while the benefit would be only proportional to the area, still, that's an improvement. And actually, there might actually be a disproportionately good benefit, because there are some studies that show that wildlife that wants to enter into a culvert to cross an otherwise uncrossable road, for instance, will make a calculation about the ratio of the width to the length of the enclosed area. So currently, the enclosed area goes from all the way up here to the other side of North State Road. Whereas if you open up this section in between, now that cuts that length in half. So there might be a significant benefit, a disproportionately good benefit, by opening up this small section. So,
Some of the benefits, the public, economic health, economic, ecological, educational value. It's a partnership with the town, that you're bringing, I'm just reading things that are out there from the study that was given from Dana.
Which don't necessarily apply to the specific applicant. I
Right.
mean, there may be a great aesthetic improvement to the property to have such an open area, but again, you're gonna discuss this with the applicant?
Yeah, my only concern is, I'm not sure what standard we would have to follow to.
I'm just nervous that it's called a storm drain when it's really when it's a storm drain or a 24-inch CMP, when we know that it's a stream. It's a stream that connects to the Botanical River.
Understood. I think it was labeled as a storm drain because of all the upstream structures would give that appearance, that it's connected to a manhole and a catch basins.
I think
And
that
I would
a drawing
imagine-
like this should be actually, with the corrections, I think it should be brought up to a different town organization or state organization looking at a river that's dealing with the Botanical River, a tributary to the Botanical River, and let them weigh in. I am very concerned about putting this parking lot on top of a tributary to the Botanical River in any form whatsoever, and creating more of a hazard on North State Road. I am highly concerned about this, and I'm asking our other board members to also look at it and also to weigh in. It's a little scary. It's very scary. I don't know whether or not who else has authority on it. I think it needs a little bit more, I'm asking for a little bit more help on this. I don't know. I'm just very concerned seeing a drawing that's calling things in the wrong words, calling it a drainage ditch, when it's really, and you look and see what's there, and you look at the pictures that the Environmental Action Committee took of that property, it's an eye-opener. We can't just say approved, go right ahead. I think we really need
Can I
to
ask a
have some
question?
major concerns.
Did you already agree to change the labeling when these two waterworks?
Yes, and if I may,
Yeah.
it was labeled a drainage ditch because for the first 20 feet or so, it's paved with asphalt. So at first appearance, it very much sort of looks like a drainage ditch. And as
But
far as-
you've agreed to change it
We've agreed to change it.
tributary
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
Mechanical River.
Yeah.
So that issue is taken care of.
And just, if I may, adverse impacts from flooding would be completely mitigated because of the stormwater practice we're putting in. So that concern, I would say,
Yeah.
is.
And we established that in the last meeting,
Yes.
that, yeah, these. I have a question. You were asking about what standard you would
Yeah, if we were to go through this.
be guided to follow. Is that with respect to the opening?
With respect to if we were to do a stream daylighting on this culvert,
Right.
yes.
So one place I could suggest you refer to is the Artis project right down the road. We asked Artis to do the same thing, and they were daylighting a section along their property, so they may have found some guidance that you could tap into.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing, your comment about the first thought, my first thought, which was to daylight the whole length of it, and go around the perimeter of the property. Your comment that we would lose all the screening is absolutely right. What if the neighbor actually would like a stream there? Then they wouldn't want screening anyway. Would that mitigate that issue or
Well, I think we
neutralize that
still
issue?
need to meet the requirement for replacing the caliper of trees we're removing. We still need to meet that requirement, and we'd be removing
Mhm.
several of the trees there.
Mhm.
And then as far as the neighbor, I'm not sure, since they're in a separate town, how that would play out.
That goes into the town of Newcastle.
Newcastle.
It's right at the border.
There's a concern the
get
board should have
complicated,
about
yeah.
doing this so close to a property. First off, if, it's very steep, so it's difficult to stabilize. So if a major storm event happened and we impacted an adjacent property because we demanded this, I think that, that's a real problem if we cause property damage as a result of this in an area that's particularly going to be very unstable. Newcastle has similar wetlands laws. If we were to move the stream over to the property, we are now encumbering somebody else's property with an environmental constraint that they haven't consented to.
Mhm.
So we've diminished the value of their property without their consent. And the other thing, there's all this good stuff we've been talking about with the daylighting.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, in areas where you're daylighting, where you don't have a tree canopy, you're getting more sunlight on the water course, you're increasing the temperature.
That's true.
And especially in the summer, you're depleting the dissolved oxygen. So in a sense, it could actually backfire.
Without the shading. I
Without
agree.
the shading,
Yeah.
and you could actually make it less hospitable to fish because the dissolved oxygen could
Goes
plummet
down
if
with
the,
the increase in
the,
temperature.
the,
I
the
agree
water
with you there.
temperature
Yeah.
spikes. So it's-
So, yeah, those are all good points. So, if you can still consider opening this one section, you know, that,
The 20 feet from,
yeah, that would be great, and would avoid those issues and property boundary issues and so forth. So-
Would that preclude us from going through on the resolution, or could that be a condition of the resolution?
if the daylighting is acceptable to the applicant, we can make a condition in the resolution which says that you've got to revise your drawing to show that.
Okay.
But if it's up in the air as to whether it's okay with the applicant or not,
Yeah.
it's
okay,
hard to
I-
adopt the
I
resolution.
understand.
Do you want to consult with your client?
Yeah, let me
Take
do
a
that.
few minutes and
Yeah.
see.
Excuse me.
I also think that we should also look at some of the questions that they've answered on the short environmental assessment form, and look at some of their yes or no's.
On the environmental assessment form?
The form that they did the original application, I have some concerns. I was reading that.
What issues on it?
Does any portion of this site action or lands adjoining proposed action contain wetlands and/or water bodies registered by federal, state, or local agency? And they wrote no and no.
Well, were any of them registered?
It's a
Botanico,
botanico, it's
like a
a
national
tributary
waters.
to the water, to the
But
waterway.
not on the site. There's
It
nothing-
goes
there's
right
nothing-
across
the
the
main.
There's nothing registered on the site.
No.
Not-
There's
but-
nothing regulated
Stream-
of that nature
stream-
on the site.
Stream segments are indexed and inventoried by the DEC. Things that are not have a default classification, but generally speaking, the stream classification standards it's all in the, what do they call it, the state register. Every little stream segment that's registered, that has an index number and a classification is registered. And if they use the application to complete the EAF, the online application, it actually, when you put in the parcel, it bangs it up against the county, rather the state GIS resources, and queries things like, state wetlands, classified water bodies,
Section
hazardous waste
13.
remediation sites. So the state maintains an inventory, but the
That's
smart
more-
EAF
We'll wait
actually
until the applicant gets
makes
back.
that geographic analysis. So I don't know if they filled it out using that. If they did, it would have checked, it automatically checks the boxes.
Yeah, we should
based
ask the
upon that.
applicant if they use the EAF mapper, right?
Right,
When they did
right.
this, so.
Most likely, because,
Yeah, what does it look
Site
like? Does it look
design.
like an automatic?
The-
13.
This looks like an automatic printout, yeah, okay. What's the third? Okay. Anything else on this? you're worried about?
13 is the one that I'm really concerned
Okay.
about.
So they might answer that right away. And if it turns out it wasn't registered, I assume that you don't want an issue with it is what it is. How long is the section that you were talking about?
That's 20
Roughly.
feet, maybe 50 feet,
50?
40 feet. 40 feet.
There's a scale on the right side. It's probably 20 feet in the front and probably 40 feet in the back.
Well, he's not doing the back. The back's too steep.
20 feet in the front. I'm also,
30 feet.
I'm also a little concerned about the use of salt on this, it's gonna go right into the stream.
I don't think you can do anything about that.
That's not,
It's a safety issue.
But right now, they don't do it, right now, they don't have it. So now they're gonna create this whole element where they're gonna add,
No, because it goes, the storm drain goes right into the stream anyway.
it's
So it's
open.
not-
Look at the photo that Donna, that Mitzi showed, the last
No,
one.
The opening it won't make the salt issue any different, because when the salt washes out, it goes into a storm drain and goes right under North State Road into the stream. So there's no difference there.
I mean, the photos that are attached here are really enlightening. If you look at what, all those plans. I mean, that the water coming out of that pipe is a lot.
The EAC did a lot of work on this.
They really, a lot of work, and they have a lot of concerns.
it's okay. But it's, for them, it's only a cost issue. Maintenance becomes higher, liability becomes higher. Does that mean section? Has the town made any concerted efforts towards opening, daylighting? We forget, besides,
As the town board, do you mean? I don't believe so. I mean, not to my knowledge, but
I don't think it's ever been addressed.
I'm not all knowing.
What? You saw that? Okay.
I mean, I've gone down to the Yonkers one, it looks very beautiful, but the only thing is that a lot of these daylighting, and I've seen the one in Providence, Rhode Island as well.
Yes.
A lot of the
Is that
daylighting
right?
only works when you've got a downtown where it benefits from it somehow.
Yeah, there's aesthetic benefits, it's
Right.
not
Well,
just
yeah, I mean,
functional in terms of.
Like Yonkers, there's the main value there,
Right.
is absolutely aesthetic, parkland.
It's a park.
You know,
Yep.
It's a
public
focal
social
part.
space.
Ching, have you
But-
been to Providence during the, I forget what they call it, but
Oh, when they float the lights down?
yes, yes,
Beautiful.
at night, they have these boats and the guys are dressed in black on the boats and they have fire on the boats and it's extraordinary.
Providence, Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's it called? Yeah, it's like a few lines of sea.
But when they daylighted,
I was there last year.
it's not- it's not an
Right in the
actual
center of the
park.
city.
It's a canal going through it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I might even have pictures
Yeah,
of
the
my
value
phone. I
here
was
is
there
aesthetic.
last year.
And it's not
Yeah.
gonna increase the value of the property per
This is for
se.
wedding.
It's not gonna
And it
increase
gets,
the benefit.
it gets a lot of people coming out.
It's an environmental benefit.
So the applicant is hesitant to do anything. They have concerns about the cost of having to do something like this. But something that occurred to me as we were talking out there would be that, given the apparent slope of slope of the pipe and the size of the pipe, we would have to, by doing any kind of stream daylighting, put in some kind of energy dissipator at the bottom, which, given that it's a 24-inch pipe and the water would be substantial and probably take up the entire length that we would be daylighting and diminish any value from daylighting. So you would, rather than, the idea would be to daylight and you have a nice stream bed, but you would have to put in something to slow down that water, otherwise you'd have scouring, you'd be washing sediment downstream into the Mechanical River, which you wouldn't want to do. So you would put gravel, large riprap, something like that, and I don't know off the top of my head how long it would be, but it would be a significant portion of that stream, perhaps all of it. I'd have to do the actual calculations on that, though.
I'm not sure I understood what your alternative suggestion was.
It's not an alternative.
Oh, you're just saying it's
I'm saying
problematic.
there's problems with even doing that.
That area, say
Because
it's
of the
40 feet
scour.
long, right, would have to be
I think it's only
stone
20 feet.
material so that it wouldn't, heavy stone material so it wouldn't wash down.
Mhm.
Because the water coming out of that
I
pipe is so.
understand that. Yeah, that'd be fine. I mean, the
Could I
boulders
ask
can be
this
about
an
like
odd
size.
question?
But then that
Why
would
does the
either-
parking lot have to be over where that stream is? Why can't the parking lot be in front of the building where they want to put the tanks for the water? Why does it have to be over there? Why can't this whole stream be uncovered and move the parking lot to the left side, well, I have to look now, south, to the southwest corner of the property? Again, 100 years ago, before there was any property here, any houses, any delineation between a town of Austining, a town of Newcastle, or any of these individual properties, even the word North State Road, or
Mark,
Morningside Drive,
Mark,
I'm just talking in general.
I understand.
It was a
We're not-
river, it was a
We're not
stream.
dealing with 100 years
Yes.
ago. We have to deal with the current property owners and the current town as it is. I mean, I appreciate the fact that we have to, we would prefer this environmental benefit that would arrive from this, but we do have to weigh the cost and benefits against achieving that. Now,
I'm also talking about all the other properties and items that have occurred on North State Road over the past couple
and
of
they might
years.
prefer having something
Mark,
stable.
and they're all
as-
connected.
One reason is because.
They're
if
all
you-
connected.
If you put that parking area in front of the house, it would go out into the street. There's not enough room. I just measured it. You've got a very pretty picture there, but I just measured it. No, but the parking lot comes out into the road.
It's
Yeah.
not right on the.
It'd be half on one side and half on the other. Half on one side, half on the other. It does work.
I'm not gonna push the issue.
The only thing about that, I think you would be increasing the paved area. The most efficient parking is where you have a double-loaded aisle. That's just conceptually, theoretically, anywhere. It doesn't apply to every site, obviously, and stuff like that. To get some parking in the front, it'd be a single loaded aisle, and you'd have to make up the difference to the right of the house where the parking is now, and that would probably end up a single loaded aisle. So,
I just did a little sketch. You take half the parking right here, single lane right here, and half right here. It does work, and what the benefit is, the entire stream is untouched, is completely untouched. It can be done. It can be done.
you still have to find room for the drainage. There's
Yeah.
still gonna be-
It could go right underneath the parking lot, right here, underneath this part of the parking lot. It does work. I'm asking you to take
wait,
one
no,
more
no,
step.
Mark, you
no,
can't
no, no,
ask
no.
him anything directly.
Right.
Talk to the board.
I'm asking the board to just ask the applicant to come up with one more version to see whether or not it can.
Hold on a second.
Can occur.
How does what you just suggest take care of the problems that are even described? One,
Because
if
this
you-
is completely, this can be
If you
completely
opened it up,
uncovered.
if you opened it up and you had the issue of the gradient, where the energy of the water has to be dissipated at the bottom, right?
Right.
Is that okay with what, his description of what the alternative, would that satisfy you to begin with? Let's just do this one step at a time.
There are no trees right here. There are no trees there.
What do you mean? There are trees marked right there on the map.
Here, look at the photograph. Here's the front of the house. You see, what trees do you see there? What trees are there? There are no trees there.
The trees in the front yard were illustrated for proposed trees. They're not, the trees,
Those are trees that you're planning to put in replacement in other trees?
correct, yeah, that
Okay.
entire front area was going to be used.
So you would
for-
move them, so theoretically, under his alternative, you would move them back over to next to the stream, is that what this is?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, how would it address the issue about messing up the Newcastle on that side?
Yeah.
How would
It
you
would,
affect
it
Newcastle?
would actually it would benefit Newcastle, because we'd be
They
leaving
might
this.
not think it benefits them. We would have to trigger off a whole issue with the
We-
neighboring town.
This
Well,
entire.
it's no longer right on the border.
It's no longer on the border, we're leaving it right where it is. We're leaving right where it is, but we're taking the parking that's on the right side of this, on the north side of it, and moving it to the south side, opposite the entrance.
Yeah.
It does
The
work,
applicant's
it
concerned.
does work.
I understand that, but the applicant's concerned about the financial hardship of doing, what, 25 feet? And now we're gonna mandate 200 feet, or whatever the full length of this thing is?
Again, you have.
And where do you,
bear
where
with
do you
me.
get the, where do you get the authority to do this?
20, 40, 60.
This is not mitigating environmental impacts. This is doing something affirmatively that I don't think the ARB, this is not ARB, that the zoning law entitles you to do.
I'm proposing,
It's an existing
if,
condition.
even if he leaves it as a 24-inch GMP, as he's saying, and then somewhere down the road, a law is passed or somewhere it is opened, he is not putting, if I ask him to do it, if we ask him to do it the other way, he's not putting a driveway on top of this stream. He's putting it in front of this building, which is no
What's on
longer.
top of it right now?
Concrete.
Concrete,
No,
right? What's on top of it right now?
absolutely. Not all of it, no.
It's not, the point is, it's not a stream at this moment. So we're not maintaining the situation if we ask them to go and
This is
open it
all,
up.
this is all greenery over here, there's no parking over here. There's no parking.
But it's not open. So
I
if
mean,
ultimately you're trying to,
the issue, we're looking, when we look at these applications as part of our seeker review, we're supposed to see what the impacts are and mitigate the impacts. So the applicant has, proposed a stormwater management system, and he's mitigated his increase in runoff. The pipe is buried, which is the status quo, so after he's done, there's absolutely no impact on that system. He's not impacting. He's not making it better, he's not making it worse. So the issue is, will he voluntarily make it better even if he's causing no impact? I mean, that's the reach on this.
okay. And we've already established the town has made no requirement of this. Okay. So I think that answers the question. I mean, Mark, you bring up a good point, but I think we have to move on with this. All right, what do we have to do at this point? Passing the resolution, we can insert the portion that we, the additional portion that from the EAC recommendation?
Right, there's that item number 2 on page 3, which is correcting the documents in terms of the nomenclature, tributary, and I'll put that into the resolution, Tom. I'll give you the wording to use.
Okay.
So you don't have to guess.
Yeah.
So that was one change. And I think that was the only change we really talked about with respect to the EACs.
Well,
That's sort of the resolution.
yeah.
Okay.
Ask.
Then we become a question.
No, because we would be trying to. That's what we're saying. It's just the how we force it. That's the whole, that's what it says. Like, so all we'd be
So
doing
why don't we,
is,
make a request?
we could make a request, yeah. And we have made that request, and they had certain issues. We can put it in there to leave it open as part of the resolution thing. If it turns out that they would prefer to do it that way, given the fact that, they actually want about, well, it's not gonna cost that much more.
The Environmental Action Committee is asking, wants it open. They
Right,
want it
if
open.
he wants it open, I think we should leave it for them to make their own decision later on. If they wanna have it open, and they find it aesthetically pleasing, and it's cost effective enough, that they should be allowed to do it. How's that?
Yeah,
Let's
that
see
would
what
be that'd be one way to do it. Another might be to enforce trade some of the things that they might want.
Okay, what would you like to take from
I don't know.
It could have.
Again, remember our limitations here.
I understand.
We didn't study it.
No, it's just,
The fact that we didn't study it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. You wanna ask me?
I'm just a lawyer.
What good news do you have? Us?
We were just talking about, you know, the possibility that daylighting the whole stream could have the negative impacts that Dan was talking about. So during this process, we haven't even studied what the impacts of daylighting the stream might be to the
We
fish.
haven't reviewed it at all.
Daylighting the stream with the planting that the gentleman, that they're doing, actually both mixed together is a benefit to the environment.
We haven't studied that.
So that would be a question for Steve
I think
Coleman.
you should read this article then. You can have this whole thing. It came from the
Mark,
town.
Mark,
It's all yours.
It's okay.
Thanks, Mark.
And you can read it.
I'll bring it home.
I said that.
Look who it came from. Look at the name of the people it came from.
Who did it come from?
Look carefully.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, as far as the resolution goes, how can we word it in a way that we can leave the option open to the applicant to possibly,
Can we just ask applicant now?
well, no, they've already said they have qualms about it. So do we
Right.
want it, do we want to leave it open for them to
What
consider it?
are we,
See, we'd like to request that,
what are we talking about? We're
We-
talking about daylighting, or are we talking about
We're talking about daylighting.
moving the parking area away, but leaving the culvert?
No. Just, what we're talking about is trying to find a way to daylight that 30-foot section between the parking lot and the road, which they've already considered and said they would pass on it. And we wanted to find a way to say in the resolution that if they changed their mind, they would be welcome to do it, to leave it open. And it occurs to me that somewhere along the line, they might want to change of some other thing that we might be inclined to say no to, that then we could horse trade these, weigh the benefits and
So we could say
costs.
something like, the planning board acknowledges that the applicant can come back to the planning board and request that that section be daylighted, and would show the planning board the, a detail of how that would look, which would be subject to the approval of the planning board.
That's fine.
Which goes without saying anyway, but
Right.
that'd be fine.
Well, if they're changing the site plan,
Right.
they would have to come back to the planning board. So we can say something like that.
Okay. I guess it's something.
At least it would save them the application fee, right? No?
No.
No? All right, sorry.
Well, I mean, if it borders on the ridiculous, let's not do it.
All right, okay, so we just skip it.
Yeah.
So the amendment to the resolution would be changing the wording with respect to what is now being called the drainage ditch and what is now being called the CMP, and appropriately saying that those are tributaries to the Panaco River. So I'll add that to the resolution tomorrow morning.
I just wanted
There was one
to
more.
mention before you, sorry.
Wasn't there one more from the AC recommendation that we?
No, I think that was,
They wanted both those things to be water courses to the EAC.
I'll make sure the wording is proper. So there were four things. Eliminate the use of lawn fertilizers, which we already have in the resolution. Number two is to correct the wording. Number three, minimize any negative impact to the wetlands, its buffers, steep slopes, and
Which
regulated
we've already
trees.
done, okay.
Which I think we've done, we've balanced those things. And four, require
It's
permanent
not practical.
surfaces, which is not going to work in this case.
Okay.
I just want to remind the board before it considers voting on this, that the county recommended
The
Sidewalk,
sidewalk,
right.
right, but we had unanimously considered that, but we hadn't voted on it.
But you
Right.
need
So
to,
we
you
need
need
to
to
vote.
override them with 4 votes instead of just 3.
What, we were unanimous, but.
well, you need to,
Well, when you vote on this resolution,
needs to be.
if you only get 3 votes, that doesn't
Okay.
override the county.
All right, everybody answered the part about the sidewalks? the county had recommended the sidewalks, and we discussed it and realized that it would kind of silly considering the way the North State Road was.
It would be the sidewalk to nowhere, so.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
And we,
I mean, I'm always in favor of sidewalks,
Sidewalks, yeah.
but it would end abruptly at the next property over, so.
we expressed the reasoning in the resolution, and we just need to get that on paper, and Sandy needs to send it to the county
Okay.
planning board.
So, can I have a motion to move? Any seconds? Okay, can we have a vote? Any objection? Mark?
I object.
Object, okay, so it's only passing with 4.
It's okay. Okay.
Okay, any other issues on this matter? Thank you for your attendance. Thank you. Okay, I understand all the other adjournments on list. They're not here. We have the minutes from the June 20th. Do we have any comments on the June 20th minutes? Minutes? Any comments on the June 20th? Anybody make a motion to accept them? Any second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, any objections? Okay. Are there any new matters that we want to discuss? Anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay.
Wait a minute, before we adjourn, maybe considering all the properties that are along North State Road, or many of the properties along North State Road, share the issue of previously culverted streams. I wonder if it wouldn't be a good time to put the issue of daylighting to the town board for their consideration.
We could always do that.
I'm concerned about all the other properties,
Yeah,
the
it's gonna
learning
come up over
center,
and over again,
artists,
yeah.
this,
So-
it's a domino effect, and you look at where it is, and it's in some of ours, it's in our
If we
backyard.
could get some guiding principles, down in writing, that would be very helpful. And perhaps Steve Coleman and/or other, environmental,
Just
you
be
know,
aware that
guidance
you
could
might
be
get
brought
exactly
together.
what you ask for, in which case it may be that the decision is made, that given the development in that area, daylighting is a bad idea, in which case we would never be able to ask for it again. Be aware that that may be one of the results of this.
When you go and you look at the street down the road on North State Road, when you go and look at the learning center and you look at the space on the north side of North State Road right there, next to the Flames, going all the way up into Ryder Park, weaving around, you'll be amazed at all the wildlife that you see there. You see the wildlife.
I have no doubt that that's a
You see the-
situation that, you can see at certain points, but again, the decision about daylighting has not only an environmental impact in the condition that we're talking about here. We have to talk about the cost-benefit analysis in terms of the entire community as a whole. I mean, if I went down to Lower East Side in Manhattan and said, oh, let's daylight Canal Street because it used to be a street running through it, it won't work.
right. So I wouldn't even suggest that the town board say daylight, every conceivable.
It's site-specific.
culvert extreme,
Yeah.
very site-specific.
Some are more,
Right.
Right, and site-specific is.
Some
tends to be-
you'll get a major environmental benefit from with minor other downsides. Others, you'll get a minor environmental benefit with major downsides. And of course,
but-
you want to make the appropriate balance.
But that's what
of
we're
those
doing
things.
right now. That's, in effect,
Except that we
yeah.
have zero authority, as we've just been reminded
Maybe we
to.
could ask for authority for the town board to study it, to study, at least have some expert weigh in on the concept, as it, we have
That's
these
not a
studies
bad
in
idea.
other areas, but see how it relates to the areas here, and they could,
It would be too steep to daylight.
In that particular location.
Yeah.
And it's always gonna come down to the board making decision case by case anyway.
Right,
But
right.
having the town give us some direction wouldn't be a bad idea. At least it might give us more parameters. But again, be aware that we might end up with the parameters that would really tie our hands under certain circumstances where, for instance, they're more worried about, oh, it's a business commercial zoning, and therefore, you can't We can't do that.
Right, it could go.
You could go the other way.
Yeah.
So rather than asking them to legislate the issue, ask them for authority to study the issue so that we have some, I mean, it would cost money to do a study like that, but maybe they would be willing as a first step, right, before they.
I like that idea.
I think when you end up, in the end of the day, you're gonna find such benefits to the town of Ossining, to the environment, to the commercial properties there, that by having an open river, stream, whatever it is, right there, it's gonna be a boom to the town of Ossining. Right now,
Not always.
Not this property.
this, I've talked to a few environmental people and people that, I've walked the space.
Often, believe me,
I
I'm
walk the
with you.
space with people with the,
It's one
with the
lot.
Nature Conservancy.
Yeah, Marla,
And they
believe me, I'm
all,
with
they
you
do
that-
agree with me.
Most of
They
the
do
time,
agree with me.
or many times. I agree with you that it's often highly beneficial, but we've got to acknowledge that it's not always beneficial. And if we got some expert guidance on the question, it would, in addition to the guidance you just provided,
But
which is very
it's
helpful.
the kind of thing, I think, you really gotta look at it on a more global
Considering
plan.
Sheila,
So,
expert guidance.
whether it be the Cantico or any other
Does that make sense?
stream, look at it in terms of what's been classified. The classification gives you some indication of what the DEC perceives as the highest and best use. Then you start to drill back and you say, well, it's practical here. I mean, North State Road, the thing's piped all behind all those businesses. That's never getting daylight.
Many of them, but not all of them.
Well, from the Karate Center all the way down to Green Lantern.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not, because I just went.
Because we just repiped it. We did that whole
It is
piece
behind, it is piped behind the karate place, but not from the karate place upstream and from the karate place downstream. For one property, it's open.
It
And
is,
then,
Is.
and then it
He's
gets
right.
culverted again.
he's
What
right.
is it open for?
It's open right
At the
behind
end of the karate
the
property.
garden center. It's all open.
The point is that it's gonna be very impractical to daylight that because a lot of these businesses rely on those parking lots to function. All I'm saying is.
I agree that there are-
That you wanna prioritize what you do, where it's practical, where the most benefit can be
I agree
derived.
with you.
And that becomes a guide to when somebody comes in and go, all right, we studied this, we had a consultant who does this stuff, and here's some targeted areas. Sorry, you're the lucky guy, you came in, you're one of the targeted areas. But other guys, we don't have to beat up because it's already been analyzed and they concluded that there's minimal benefit to daylighting here, but there's other areas where there's a great benefit and it's practical to do. So, that
I agree
provides
with
it provides you the leverage then to address these
To
things
make
in a more
informed decisions. I
pragmatic way.
agree with you, yeah. And
Again,
a modern.
I've
modern
observed in some of those
take on
culverts that, I
is
observed in the
important.
culvert in front of the learning
And
center
thinking has
one.
changed on it in the last 10 years.
Fish, frogs, and across the street, there were
Wildlife
turtles.
passage.
Yeah, no,
It's,
it's-
yeah, it's a lot of new thinking.
We have to keep an eye on those things, yeah. All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Any second? Motion to adjourn, no seconds?
I'll second.
Good. Any objections? Not hearing any objections?
No
Okay.
objections.
Thank you, folks.